Hello, this is my project for um, demo video. So I'm just PW doing now. I'm going to first show you the README. So catch readme.txt. Yeah, so as you can see, the name of the program is Yosh, and the helper files are parse .c and parse.h, which were provided by the professor. Then a description of the code, name of the coder, me. This is just the format of the README. Now we can go into kind of the code of Yosh. Yeah, so as you can see, top, just some description of the code. We include a bunch of .h files to get stuff. And then I enumerate the built-in commands so I can just refer to them clearly. I also create a structure for jobs that has certain variables that each job will have. I also initialize an array of that struct so that we have um, working list of our jobs. I also have two global variables: total job number and then total and then job number global. So that's the current job number, current number of running jobs. And then this first method is just to check if a file is real or exists already. And then this add job method is just called to add a job to that master array of all jobs. Our next method is run pipes, which is kind of a major method. It is called whenever a user has pipes in their input. And it takes in all of the parser info and also the command line and runs it. So as you can see, we begin by creating a bunch of pipes in an array. And then for that, and then we cycle through each command. And then for each command, we fork and we create a child program. And that child program does opens up by doing some plumbing. So first it checks if it checks for file redirection. So this first if statement is doing file redirection for output redirection, and this next if statement is checking if it's the first command and input redirection, and then does the input redirection. And then this next if statement right here does plumbing, so it checks if it's not the last command, and if it's not, then it redirects standard output using dupe2. And this below is the same, but for the input plumbing, so it checks if it's not the first command and then redirects input using dupe2 and the pipes. And then I just have simple for loop closing all the pipe file descriptions because we don't need them anymore. And then I get information from info from the parser, and I get this line right here gets the current command from the for loop. That's where the J is from. And then we expand the words using word exp to kind of expand the tilde and all. And then we use execvp to run the command. Pretty straightforward, check for error, and then iterate a counter that we used earlier. And then in the parent, just close all the pipes and wait PID for the child. So pretty straightforward. That loops through pipes with file redirection. Then this method is just to print the jobs using the built-in command jobs. This method is called to, after a job is done completing, to mark it as done in the array. And then this method is used to kill a job by the job number for the built-in command. All pretty straightforward. This is just a signal handler for sigchild. This build program method was given to me earlier in the basic starter code, and just added the current working directory to the prompt. And this is built-in command just recognizes if the command entered by the user is a built-in command. And then the main method. So the main method is pretty straightforward. So initialize a bunch of things, initialize a signal handler, and then run the while loop, which is just basically a shell, reads the command line. And then here, what it does is it checks for the command line for errors with file redirection, so too many or too few redirectors. And then this initializes initializes history and adds the command line to history, barring certain rules. So if it's repeated, it doesn't add it to history, or if it's empty, it doesn't add it to history, or if it's one of the exclamation mark commands, it doesn't add it to history. And then we call the parser to get information from the command line in a data structure. Error checking, we get the first command from the command array that the parser spits out. And then we start to check what that command is. So first, for right here, we check if the command is an exclamation mark command, which references the history. And if it is, we make the variable at the top of your screen, execute CMD, the history that the exclamation mark is referencing. Otherwise, execute _CMD becomes the first command. And then we expand the arguments for the variable list. And then we check that execute CMD to see what it was. So if it was a built-in command, then it runs the built-in command. So for exit, it just exit ones. It just exits if there are no jobs running in the background. For CD, it just calls chdir, the method. If it is history, it just prints the history from the array we initialized earlier, et cetera, et cetera. And then if it has pipes, it runs the run pipes method. And if it doesn't have any pipes, then it just forks normally and runs that. And here this fork is kind of long because it expands the words like the tildes and stuff, and then checks for file redirection. And then it calls execvp. And then it calls execvp after all of that's done. And the parent just either calls wait PID immediately or runs a program in the background, adds it to job, and waits for the signal handler to harvest a child, and then garbage collection. So that is the code. Now for some demoing. So first I'm going to show you the built-in commands. We have change directory. So this is change to the parent directory. As you can see, the command line changed. As you know, the directory change happened. And then I'll change back to P4, my project directory. We can just check history real quick. Whoops, history. That's the history. Now we can show jobs. So sleep. Let's do 60 and run it in the background. Now you can see it in jobs. And then if you want to kill it, this is the built-in command for 1, and it kills it via PID, and then you run jobs and there's nothing. This is the help command, jobs, history, change directory, help. And then I think that's everything. And then so history command one more time, and then this is the exit command. And as you can see, it exits. Now I can show you some more of the pipes and file redirections. So this is just ls, which uses the basic fork, and then we can kind of pipe that into something interesting. So ls grep, and we can search for everything that has a .txt in it. So all the readmes and a couple of the test outs, and then we can put that information. So we can do ls grep .txt, and we can put that into out2.txt, and cat out2.txt. As you can see, it has the same information. And then we can also do file redirection input, so out2.txt, and it puts out the same information. So that's file input and output redirection and pipes. We can do one more longer pipe. So dot, and then we can grep everything that has Yosh in it. And then we can do word count. So that makes sense because there are 4 files. Yeah, so that is a summary video of my project and a demo. I hope you enjoyed.